comments keep sounding off. Next
Yes.
up, I do want to talk about, or at least spark the conversation about this Skittles. We were trying to figure out the word that comes after that. Is this a controversy? Is there backlash? How would you describe it, Cornelia?
Well, first let me explain. So Skittles for Pride Month decided, and they've been doing this for a couple of years now. This is now the second year they've done this, to present white Skittles. So the plan behind it was to honor Pride Month by removing the rainbow colors and highlighting that the only rainbow that matters this month is the LGBTQ pride flag symbol, tradition of, you know, the rainbow colors and the unity of that. But the backlash really hit hard because people are wondering why for Pride Month or the celebration of unity, you would choose having white Skittles, or you would take all of the colors away and just have it a white. So tweets were going back and forth. The internet was going crazy about it. Some people agreed that it was wrong. Some people said, you know what are you talking about? What's the big deal? So let's open up the conversation, because my first question when I saw it was, wait, did Skittles say why they did this? Or did they just drop the white bag of Skittles and they were like, yay!
Everyone accept this and understand it.
Right.
No, I mean, the picture that we had showed, this was at Morning Blend between 5 and 7 today. Dina had talked about the story. We had chatted about it. There is this display up at a store.
I'm going to pull it up.
You're going to pull up that picture? And it explains what the bag of white Skittles, bags upon bags on this shelf, and it explains with the slogan about the reason why the only flag that matters this season, this year, this month, is that of the LGBTQ community. So we're going to show that picture to you in a second, but I can understand why in one breath people look at this and go, okay, so you're going to remove all the color, remove all the diversity to try to express and support diversity. I get the confusion. I do, though, feel as though that's looking into it a little too much instead of stepping back and just saying, listen, Skittles, taste the rainbow. That's been their slogan.
Their thing.
Forever. So I see what they were trying to do from a marketing standpoint, is say, you know what, let's all the glory to the LGBTQ community. This isn't about our rainbow, this is about theirs. Maybe it was the fact that they use the color white and people are now saying, oh, is this now encouraging like an all-white community, talking about racial slurs. Now, I get that, but I personally didn't go there when I saw that.
I feel the same way you do. I didn't go there. I do want to show you, because Cornelia asked if they said what they were doing when they were presenting the item on the store shelves. So they do, actually. They say, and this was actually a tweet that somebody put out earlier, during Pride, only one rainbow matters, so we've given up ours to show our support. So they very clearly write. But look at this. I mean, they have all white, and all the colors have been taken out. They put the color right here, during Pride, only one rainbow matters. So I think it's very clear they were trying to show gay support, gay pride, queer, lesbian, gender.
You mentioned the presence of no color, which would be clear. Maybe they should have done like a transparent Skittle.
How do you do that?
With all the sugar, you can't do that.
The only way, like a clear color, because it's the color white that people are having issues with.
Well, the only way that Skittles could have gotten around this is with every single bag, every display, every internet picture, they put that statement right next to it on top of it. So you had no choice but to read what it says.
Let me ask you, did you go there?
I can see why people do go there. So, for example, we have this whole issue of whitewashing. We've had it since the inception of America. You've had it with American music. We've seen it recently with hair and movies. And you had the Nivea ad being pulled because it was like white means pure. You had Pepsi whitewashing protests for equality. You had Shea Moisture hair care products for black women now promoting white women, like, hey, this is our product now. So you have all of these issues, and after a while people just are fed up and they're like, here we go again with this. So I get why people are upset. It's that frustration with the idea of to show support or to highlight something or to promote anything, that it has to be tied to whiteness instead of diversity.
So if they had
I understand why.
If they had made black and white Skittles in a bag, would that have just meant we're all good now?
But why? Like,
why?
I'm just curious, like, what would have been the fix? Because I
clear.
But I don't think you can do that. There's too many ingredients.
And I think that comes into the discussion of marketing. When you're in that room and that
don't do it at all.
You're making that decision. you gotta weigh all sides and just make the best decision. And sometimes you're gonna take a hit,
right?
Sometimes you're not.
It's unfortunate because they are the only candy that I've noticed right now taking a big stand for gay pride, and now they're getting backlash over their decision to do it.
Or
so
they should have been like Starburst and just stayed out of it.
And the explanation made sense. Like the statement made
I love
sense,
it. I think it's clever, but
if that's not on the bag of Skittles, the individual bag, because think about it, when you go on some Targets, they don't have that big old display case. Sometimes you just throw that little sack of Skittles out next to the cash register, and you're like, what's this? And you just see a white bag of Skittles, and you're like, wait, what? So I get the backlash.
We'll have
if
to
they
look
don't
into
preface
that.
it with that, I see why people are upset, especially with everything. Again, we just talked about Kendall Jenner protests and the shaming, like.
Well, so do you think they just should have not done it?
I think in those marketing meetings, they need to just like in film, we talk about in television.
Think about it.
The people who are behind the scenes need to be diverse themselves. And I'm not placing any blame on Skittles, or I don't know what their cast of marketing directors looks like.
Right.
For all I know, it is a rainbow. It's a plethora of all shapes, sizes, and colors. But it does bring up that topic and shines light on how important it is to have all voices heard in these meetings, because we may think, oh, I don't see anything wrong with that. We're of one generation, we're of one race, but someone of a different generation or the same generation in a different race could have different feelings, and that needs to be heard. But unless you have an entire diverse cast of people who are helping make these decisions, then you may get stuck in a pickle like this. Again, I don't know what the Skittles directors look like.
And I do want to share some of your comments because we want to hear from you on this. So Edward Vincent Fernandez, hello, and thanks for watching us. Edward says, people are way oversensitive nowadays. Not everything is a race issue. Shake my head. And then also Melinda says, seriously, you're talking about the color of Skittles? So some people see this as trivial. Some people say,
sure, and you can look at it as simply as that
way.
But you can also step back and look at it as we have a lot going on in this country right now. And we have had a lot going on race-wise for a very long time.
This wasn't in America. I don't know if we said that in the beginning. So this was something that they rolled out in the UK. And last year in the UK they did it, and they didn't get a ton of backlash, which is why they brought it back this year. So I don't know if they are going to do this in the United States yet, but clearly people are upset, and
there's probably a reason why they didn't do it in the U.S., don't you think?
Yeah, and I would implore people to ask yourself this, because again, the conversation or the question is, why is it always about race, and why are we oversensitive? How about this going forward? If something continuously bothers a group of people and they're pointing it out, maybe they're not pointing it out just for the sake of pointing it out. Maybe they're pointing it out for a reason. So how about asking someone or yourself, or just thinking internally, maybe something is going on that I don't know about because I haven't experienced it myself, or I don't know how it feels. So at least getting to the root of the problem, or asking yourself, why is there a problem? And then coming to the conclusion of then saying, well, maybe it's no big deal, you're over exaggerating. But if you don't really explore it first,
be open-minded.
Right. Then it's hard to say something is trivial to somebody.
And that goes, while we're talking LGBTQ community, those who don't know anyone in their life who is close to them, or who don't have kids who identify with that community, or have family or friends who identify, you don't know what that's like to know someone who feels or who has felt for their entire life that they can't be themselves because they feel like the world is going to come after them. And I've had my own experiences where, wow, I see that story so close now. I have cousins, I have friends who have barely come out, 30 years into their life. And it's like, why can't you just come out? Well, I understand their story now, because it's not that my family wouldn't love me or my friends wouldn't love me, but it's still not 100% accepted in this world. We still get gay bashed. We still have to go through this terrible experience of just wanting to be ourselves, which is why there are still parades happening, which is why we have to take a month out of the year and say, listen, it's okay to be gay. We're still in that time. And the same goes for race, I think, in a lot of these communities. And just because you don't go through it doesn't mean that if someone else is expressing their concern, you shouldn't look at that and identify with that. You need to understand that.
Yeah.
And then make a change
we talked about that too,
in yourself.
Gay in the military, and we had one person comment saying, I will respect your service, but I won't respect you being a gay person in the military.
And that hurts.
And those conversations are happening, whether or not you agree with it. And so, yeah, After sitting on this panel, I have learned a lot about opening my eyes and something that I don't think offends me, but I'm not necessarily thinking about the other people who would be offended. Yeah. So I'm very appreciative for these conversations that we're having, because I think it is important to educate the masses.
And stop just thinking everyone's pulling a race card all the time, or pulling a whatever, the white card or the black card or whatever card you think people are pulling. They're obviously in their feelings for some reason, and you need to educate yourself. So. That's that.
Yes.
This last story, preach. Keep sounding off, though. We do appreciate all of your comments, whether you agree or disagree with us. That's what this is for, to talk it out. This last story is interesting because